What is going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another episode of the Sports Muse Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Brumley, and I'm joined by my co-host, John. John, how you doing?
Doing pretty good.
He's always doing pretty good, guys, which is great to hear. What I want you guys to do, we're covering the Texans today. I want you guys to go down to the comments and drop your season prediction for the Texans, okay? We want to hear what you guys have to say. Represent, show what kind of fan base Houston has. Also, we've broken down the rest of the AFC South too, so definitely check us out. There's a playlist for the AFC South. We've broken down the AFC West already, so check it out. Let us know what you think. If you like it, like and subscribe. All that fun stuff. But let's get down to brass tacks, okay? We got the Texans on the books today. Last year, they were 10-6, made it to the playoffs, had a huge, monstrous lead over the Kansas City Chiefs, and then the Kansas City Chiefs and the Legion of Zoom came back to win the game. So we look at the additions. They got Randall Cobb, Brandon Cooks, Gaines, Hargraves came back. They traded for David Johnson, Roby, Watkins. So they definitely got some talent. The biggest head scratcher to me is Randall Cobb for 3 years, $27 million. Just doesn't seem smart. I think Robbie Anderson signed something pretty similar in Carolina, and they're different receivers. Don't get me wrong, but I would just rather have the youth of Robbie Anderson than Randall Cobb, who's kind of been maybe, I don't want to say mediocre, but he's been okay for the last few years. I don't know, it just seemed like a real head-scratching move to me.
Oh, I agree. And I feel like Randall Cobb's taken almost a step back or two, and he was with Aaron Rodgers, who's obviously one of the best passers in the league.
He's with Dak Prescott the next year.
Yeah, and then you take Robbie Anderson, who's kind of been on the Jets, or he has been on the Jets, and they've been awful offensively. So, I don't know. I definitely agree with you that he would have been a better choice. Maybe they couldn't get him. I don't know. I was wondering where Robbie Anderson would go because, he probably would have been a way better fit here. But, they got Randall Cobb. I don't see it being too fruitful for them. But, who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. When you look at departures, they lost Carlos Hyde, Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller didn't really get to play last year, blew out his knee. Hyde was their feature back of last year, him and Duke. They huge loss with DeAndre Hopkins. They lost DJ Reader, Mingo, Jonathan Joseph, Mike Adams, and Gibson. That Hopkins trade is difficult to defend. And, there's times where GMs and coaches, or if your coach is the GM like he is in Houston, sometimes they make some head-scratching moves and you end up being the idiot. We've seen that plenty of times. An easy example was when Pittsburgh traded Antonio Brown. People are like, oh, they didn't get nearly enough, and then Antonio Brown never played a snap for Oakland. Maybe it ends up working out, but boy, I don't think so. I think that trade's pretty bad.
Yeah, you have to wonder did he maybe know that Bill O'Brien, did he maybe know that DeAndre Hopkins wasn't going to sign again there? And so he was like, well, I might as well get what I can from him, or by trading him, or what? But it definitely seems like a lopsided trade at the moment. So unless something comes out about that, it's hard to justify it.
Yeah, unless we get David Johnson from 2016. But that's been 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we were like, David Johnson's one of the best in the league, and then really hasn't done anything since. I did hear that Hopkins was going to want a contract extension for big-time money, which he deserves. He's one of the absolute best receivers in the NFL, and you can easily make a case that he is the best receiver in the NFL. It's just tough, man, when you have a young phenom quarterback like Watson to trade his go-to target. If you're Houston, your fingers are crossed, your toes are crossed, and you're praying to God that Will Fuller can stay healthy for a full season to just help lessen that loss. When we look at – go ahead.
I was going to say, how upset is Deshaun Watson right now? You're losing DeAndre Hopkins and you're getting Randall Cobb and Brandon Cooks, who've been pretty underwhelming the last couple of years. So, I don't know. It's not – to me, that's definitely a big loss of production.
And you have to think Brandon Cooks is honestly probably a concussion away from being out of the league. He's had quite a few.
It seems like that. And
I don't know. It just seems like a guy who's, I don't know. He's taking a lot of big hits, and it seems like it's taking less and less now. to get him off the field. And like, I mean, I like the guy. He's been traded a lot. And I feel like sometimes we're judging him unfairly, but I don't know. It's definitely a downgrade, I think.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not gonna. I mean, because DeAndre Hopkins, the defense has to focus on him so much, and when now they're gonna focus on Will Fuller almost. I mean, he's probably their number one, right? Not right now. So I mean, what's that?
I'd say, yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. So I guess we'll see what Deshaun Watson, what kind of magic he can work.
Absolutely. We look at their draft picks. They got Ross Bullock, which I like. I think he's going to bring. I think he's going to try to fill that DJ Reader spot. From TCU. I did like that pick. They didn't have a first round pick this year because they traded it for Tunsil in the offseason of last year, and they also got Jonathan Greenard. So as far as draft, they're not bringing in a ton because they made so many trades. They traded their fourth rounder for Duke and all that stuff. Bill O'Brien's definitely been busy making some trades. So when we look at the roster, I don't really know what else to say besides Deshaun Watson's going to have to take another step up. He's really going to have to play out of his mind this season. O'Brien clearly sees something with David Johnson that, a lot of people aren't seeing right now. I mean, David Johnson was pretty much relegated to third string last year toward the end of the season. Kenyon Drake was getting more carries. I'm blanking on the backup running back for Arizona. But yeah,
Edmonds?
like, what is it?
Was it Edmonds?
Yeah, Chase Edmonds. So I'm not sure. The D is really going to have to keep the score down, and I don't know if they can do that on a consistent basis. It's a solid defense. I don't know. It's going to be tough for Houston this year. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bad year for Houston. And, I mean, maybe is it going to be Bill O'Brien? I don't know what his contract is, but will it be Bill O'Brien's last year? I mean, I guess they have finished first the last 2 years in the division, but I don't know. It just seems like they took a step back almost, other than winning that game, the playoff game with Buffalo. But, yeah, I saw that their defense was last in red zone touchdowns, that they allowed touchdowns on 71% of other teams' drives when they go on the red zone. And I was like, that's absurd. And then, so the year before, they went from 3-3 in one-score games to this year they went 9-3. Or to 2019, they went 9-3 in one-score games, and that's if you count the Bills' overtime victory. So I feel like that's going to regress back to the mean, and it's probably a long season for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and you always see that when you're something like 9-3 in one-score games, it always flips itself on its head. That's a tough one. What is your biggest question mark with Houston?
I'm curious to see what their offense is going to look like. I mean, did they get David Johnson to maybe try to rely more on the run? Or, I mean, are they going to let Deshaun Watson just air it out because maybe David Johnson doesn't really have it like he used to anymore, like you've said? So I'm kind of just curious what their offense is going to look like this year. And is it going to be Deshaun Watson maybe trying to make too much happen, and then he's making mistakes, throwing picks, turning the ball over because he's just trying to put it all on himself and do too much. So I wonder what it's going to look like. I don't know. I'm not too optimistic for this year. What about you?
So my biggest question mark is you have to think about, if it's not Deshaun Watson, the biggest star in Houston, it's probably JJ Watt.
Oh, yeah.
And the question is, does JJ Watt still have it? I'm not saying JJ Watt's going to be bad, but does JJ Watt still have defensive player of the year, abilities? He's been banged up. He's not young anymore. He's not old, but you just have to question what JJ Watt has left in the tank. Because, he could be a guy, if we see JJ Watt come out and play like the defensive player of the year that he has in the past, it changes everything. It really does, because he is a game changer on that defensive line. I just, again, it's one of those things where you better cross your fingers and just hope, because he hasn't even shown the ability to play through a season for a while now. How do you think the Houston Texans fare against the rest of the division?
I have them dropping from first all the way back to fourth. That's my prediction.
Wow.
For this year. Yeah, I just think it's going to be just a long season and it's just not going to go well. I'm not a big Bill O'Brien fan, and maybe that's some of it. Maybe I got some bias there towards Bill O'Brien, but I don't see it going to be a good season. I mean, but you're right with Deshaun Watson, with that elite quarterback, he could easily push them past, and like they win those one-score games again, just because that's what elite quarterbacks do. But I just think with J.J. Watt, I don't see him putting up that elite performance again. I mean, if he does stay healthy all year, yeah, he could easily turn some games for them as well. But I think it's just going to be a long road for them.
And I definitely see what you're saying. I agree with that completely. It's tough. With a quarterback like that, you're in every game. I don't care who you have. When you have a quarterback of that kind of ability, it's tough to count them out. But you can't. I mean, even if you're a Texans fan, how do you not see a regression coming? Personally, I kind of see them being third in the division. I just don't think they have the firepower to keep up with the Colts and the Titans. And my record prediction for them is 6-10.
Same thing.
So you have the same thing. So that's interesting. 6-10. I just don't think the ceiling's too high on them. It's just they don't have enough to say that they can go 11-5, 10-6. I think best case scenario is they do something like a 9-7 and maybe get like a wild card. But I don't see it. I don't think it's in the cards this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if they do make the playoffs, do they even have the talent to advance past the teams that are going to be in the playoffs with them? Like, yeah, maybe we're over predicting the AFC South and the Texans end up doing better, but I just don't see them comparing to the better teams in the AFC.
And I completely agree with you, like I said. And my parting shot is this, okay? So here's a hot take. Everyone knows Deshaun Watson's good, right? But what I'm saying is Deshaun Watson is the most underrated quarterback in football. No matter, how much love he gets, I don't think it's enough, because I do feel like at a young age, he's on like Russell Wilson territory. And I know Russell Wilson was good at an early age, but his defense really carried him to a lot of victories. And I don't mean that like Russell Wilson wasn't good. What I'm saying is Deshaun Watson's doing what Russell Wilson's doing now, but he's doing it his first and second year in the league. So I think Deshaun Watson is the most underrated quarterback in the league. What about yours?
So I think Bill Bryan's gonna get fired before the end of the year. I just have a feeling it's gonna turn bad. They're just gonna go on a losing streak, and the whole him being GM and head coach is not gonna go well, and they might get rid of him. But like I said, I mean, I don't know his contract. So if it's like the first year of his contract, I mean, I'm gonna say I'm wrong. But yeah, I don't see him, or maybe he'll get fired at the end of the year. But I guess my only thing with Deshaun Watson is, like you said, he did have that number one receiver with DeAndre Hopkins. Is that kind of, does he come back to earth without having that? Or because, I mean, if Russell Wilson, he really never had that ace number one receiver.
Yeah, Baldwin. Doug Baldwin's good.
He was good.
He's not DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, exactly. But so I guess that'd be my only thing is just like, was it Deshaun Watson? Like, is he that great? Which I think he is definitely one of the top quarterback, not top like three, but he's definitely up there for quarterbacks. But you got to worry when you lose a number one weapon in the NFL.
Absolutely. And, guys, if you like it or if you disagree with us, drop us, in the comments why you think we're wrong. I'm sure a lot of Texans fans aren't happy with our take. So just let us know what you think, guys. And if you do like it, hit subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.